Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio, your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and our show today is Talking Heads. Today's conversation is not about startups that never got traction. It's not about underfunded ideas or inexperienced founders. Today's episode is about smart businesses, experienced leaders, talented teams, good products, and strong visibility, and why they still fail. Because failure is rarely loud, especially in business. It's usually quiet. It happens slowly. And most of the time, everyone sees it, but no one names it. No one calls it out. Here's the myth. We like to believe that businesses fail because of strategy, money, or market timing. But the truth is, that's the story we tell ourselves because that's really comfortable. And the same is actually true in a relationship, but we'll get to that later. Most smart businesses don't fail because they made bad decisions. They fail because they avoided the hard conversations, the difficult ones that nobody wants to talk about. They fail because of what was tolerated. They fail because of what was ignored. They fail because of what they just let go. They fail because of what was excused, what was delayed, and what was labeled, this isn't the right time. Nobody wants to talk about it. But here are the real reasons why businesses fail. These are the reasons why smart businesses fail. Smart businesses run by smart, talented, educated, experienced people. The first thing is, at the leadership level, there's very poor listening. Now, you know, I'm the listening mentor. I advocate about listening all the time. And so have you ever been in an organization where leadership just didn't listen to anything? You would come with an idea, or maybe you'd be asked for your opinion and you would give it and nothing happens. And so when this happens over time, where leadership is not listening, it starts to literally become like a disease, like a plague. It just starts to spread throughout the organization because people don't feel validated. They don't feel heard. And they feel that whatever the position is that they have in that company, they have no authority. When leaders stop listening, people stop talking. And when people stop talking, problems don't disappear. They just go underground. Poor leadership means not listening to feedback, not inviting other opinions, and not creating that safety net for truth. When you don't feel safe, you don't feel protected, you're not going to feel like you can communicate or that you can share. But when a leader does create a space like that, then people are actively contributing and they're happy to give their opinion or share what it is that they see. The second thing that I see is avoidance is disguised as productivity. And we've talked about this before on this show as well as other shows. People will use the term, I'm so busy. Busy does not mean productive. To me, busy is coming from a place of ego, either the ego in terms of fear that you're not doing enough or that you're not going to be perceived as bringing enough value, so you're really busy. But productivity is really the measurable that is what's dependent on a business's success. That's one of them. So busy does not mean effective. And just because there's motion taking place does not equal leadership. I've seen this in organizations where there's a lot of meetings that are being held. You can't even get to somebody because their day is completely booked up with back-to-back meetings. And then there's no action that's taken as a result of whatever was discussed in the meeting. There's just more meetings to talk about why we're not hitting our goals or why the team isn't measuring up. But yet there's no time for productivity because we're so busy. The third problem that I've noticed is that there's a cultural problem mislabeled as a strategy problem. Let's talk a little bit about this. When a team isn't aligned, leaders will often blame the plan. And think about this. Have you ever had to do a business plan, commit to something, and then it's not working? So you just say, oh, it's the plan. The plan is the problem. But someone created the plan. And maybe whomever it is that's responsible for those deliverables is not acting on any of them. They're not even actionable. Or you haven't met with your team to review if these are actionable items that people want to take on and take responsibility for. So the real issue here is when a team isn't aligned and the leaders blame the plan, they change the structure, they change the messaging, or they change the org chart. And I've seen this also where you have people in certain roles and then the leadership will decide, oh, we'll move him over here, we'll move her over there, we'll take someone who's in sales and they're not doing very well and we'll put them in a management position, which that has always made me scratch my head. It's not about shuffling people around. It's about actually demonstrating leadership, which is more than just moving parts and pieces. The real issue overall is trust. And so when there is no trust, there's no respect. When there's no trust, there are no boundaries. And when there's no trust, there's no accountability. A good leader, a leader who people will follow, that person builds and establishes a culture of trust, of accountability, of responsibility. They delegate, they provide feedback, they provide recognition. And so I have about 20 plus years selling recognition services as a corporate. And to me, I'm always interested when organizations have no recognition program whatsoever, or a recognition program is capped after a certain accomplishment, because people want to be recognized. They want to be continuously motivated throughout their entire career. Or even if you are involved in a consumer loyalty program, if that loyalty program shuts off after a certain amount of time, you start to revisit your own loyalty and think, well, why was it that you were happy that I was your client or your customer up until a certain point, and then you just decided that my loyalty didn't matter? So think about some of these things for your own organization, and what are you doing to build trust? The fourth is tolerance of small issues. A toxic personality that gets results, a high performer who disrespects others, a partner who avoids responsibility. And I want to talk about high performers. Have you ever been in an environment where someone is continuously hitting their numbers and they're at the top of their game, and yet they look down on everyone else? And by doing so, what they've done is they've pretty much silenced the people beneath them and come from a place of ego. And so if they were ever to move into a position of leadership, then they're not going to have those people following them because they haven't built a community of trust. And we could talk a lot about community, but by being able to have people respect you, and people want to do the work for you and with you, that is something that is truly priceless. And so a good leader, a leader that people want to follow, They create a culture of recognition, they create a culture of respect, and they create a culture of accountability. When things don't go right, they raise their hand and say, you know what? I'm going to take responsibility for this. Even if they don't really believe that it's theirs, they step up and represent the fact that it's okay to say you made a mistake. It's okay to say things didn't go exactly as planned, but what can we learn from it? And those key learnings can really be deal breakers for how successful the organization is going to be. So I want you to think about your organization and what's coming up for you when I'm bringing up some of these things. When there's toxicity in an organization or there's disrespect, these things don't stay as small items. They typically compound and build one on top of the other. And by the time they're addressed, which is usually too late, the cost is already paid. So, whatever is going on in your organization today, are people talking about it? Are they addressing it? Are you, as a leader, creating a safe space for people to come forward and say, by the way, I just wanted to share something with you, but I'm afraid I might lose my job. I'm afraid I might be blackballed. I might be kept back. I don't want to jeopardize my work by sharing some of the things that I'm seeing. There was a television show, I'm not sure if it's still on or not. It was called Undercover Boss. And I used to watch it because I thought it was really fascinating for the companies that agreed to participate. And typically be the CEO or a high level leader who would get in a disguise and then would go into the organization at a lower level so that they could see what was going on in the core foundation of the business. And many times they had no idea before this what the different organization levels were doing, the different silos within the company. And so once they got into the role and they realized how crucial each and every role and job was within the organization, it really changed things around. And by the end of the show, the CEO or the executive, they would have already been coached by the leader for that specific division or line that they were working in about some of the things that they could have done better. And at the end, the person reveals who they are, and then they have meetings with each of the different people. My father used to tell me, he would say, you need to know all aspects of your business because you need to know if they're running efficiently. And many people, as leaders, they don't think that this is their task. They think, well, I'm just doing this role. I'm in sales, I'm in marketing. And I want to share something with you that I've shared before, but I think it really warrants being referenced again because it was a great key learning. When I was doing my doctoral residency, I had to go to Arizona and I was there for 3 weeks, and we were in these cohorts of 5 people, and each cohort was given uh, a business case, and we had to analyze the business case. And then, as the 5 of us, each of the 5 would have a role in sharing the solution to the business case that we had. So, at the time, I was in sales, I was a salesperson. So, I was going to open and I was going to close the meeting. And I got up to speak, and of course, the facilitator was there. And so we had worked diligently, my team and I, overnight to put together the solution to this business case. And so as I was speaking, the facilitator was in the back of this room and he had this 3x5 card. And on there were the words, please sit down. And so I'm seeing this, and he keeps walking closer and closer to me with please sit down. So I was still in the role of presenting. And I looked at him and he had it right in front of my face. And he said, please sit down. I said, you want me to sit down? And he said, I want you to sit down. So I sat down, and then he pointed to the second person and told them to move over. So now the second person was ready to do their part of the presentation, but they certainly were not ready to do my part of the presentation. So they start going through the computer trying to find what I was going to present. And the facilitator comes up, please sit down, with the 3x5 card. So then he moved the third person, the fourth person. So finally, the fifth person, the last person, was supposed to do the entire presentation. And he couldn't do it because he didn't know it. So the facilitator closed down the laptop and told him to sit down. And so we were all furious because we had worked on this case study. But the point of it wasn't actually us coming up and regurgitating what we already knew. It was the fact that we didn't know the other parts of the presentation. And that's the same thing in a business. We get so closed off that we only know what we're doing. And so the facilitator's point was, let's say a team of you is going in to present something and somebody's flight is delayed and they don't make it. Who's going to do their part? And so sometimes businesses fail because the roles that we're in are so siloed that we are not seeing what the other entities within an organization are doing, and how what they're doing is impacting what we're doing, and how what we're doing is impacting what they're doing. So think about marketing, thinking about sales, thinking about manufacturing, accounting, HR. They're all related in some way. And when we don't have any idea about the other parts of an organization, that can lead to failure. So does that mean that if you are in a leadership role, or if you're planning on going into a leadership role, you need to study each and every aspect of an organization? No, but to a degree, going and meeting with leaders from the other parts of the organization and learning, hey, what are the challenges that you're working on in this year, so that you can understand how what they're doing and how what you're doing may impact your success. It may impact the bottom line. It may impact consumer loyalty, or it may impact shareholder equity. All of these things are related, and that's in alignment with what makes a business successful. So a leader who's in touch with what's going on in the organization will definitely set themselves apart from other leaders who are just busy and being busybodies, just doing the role that they were hired to do, and that's it. Here's the part that no one wants to talk about or say out loud. Just because there's visibility, in other words, you're visible, you're walking around, you're talking to people, that doesn't mean that the business is healthy. Revenue doesn't equal integrity, and growth doesn't equal sustainability. So what do these things mean? People might say, well, my company's making a lot of money. Does that mean it's sustainable? Does that mean that you're acting with integrity? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. It's not just one thing. Just because you show up and you are visible in your organization, does that mean that the company is viable, that it's successful? No. You can look successful and still be unstable. You can be profitable and be deeply broken. And you can be admired publicly and be completely dysfunctional privately. And when you think about this, think of some of the A-list celebrities that we hear about in Hollywood who have made millions and millions of dollars. They're very successful. Or think about sports figures. And you see them on Sundays, watching games, etc. And then you read these stories about what's really been going on in their life, and you had no idea. And you say to yourself, I don't understand. They're making all this money, or they're on television, or they have a huge following. I don't understand how it is that this came about. I watched a documentary, which I had a lot of respect for NFL football players after seeing this, but it was a documentary about how, and this is my interpretation of it, of how someone gets drafted into the NFL and they sign a contract and they're getting paid a huge amount of money. And it's more money than they've ever had in their entire life. And they hire people to manage the money, or they don't hire anyone to manage it. And they buy people in their family, they buy them homes, they buy them cars. And before you know it, they're broke. And their body's broken from all of the contacts during the football games. And so they can't get work doing what it is they've been doing after a certain age. And then they don't have any money because they mismanaged it, or someone mismanaged it for them. And so the whole point is, they can look successful. They have a lifestyle that seemingly they're doing well, but yet it's actually broken. And of course, this is a generalization. It doesn't apply to everyone, but it's the same kind of thing in business. Don't always believe what you see with your eyes. So we don't want to be one of those businesses. Smart leaders fail when leaders choose comfort over clarity. We've seen this in the news as well. Leaders get complacent. They are not looking at what their competitors are doing. They're not looking at what their customers need. Our customers dictate a lot of things, but many people in the leadership role, they're getting paid very well, and they don't want to look at what does the customer want? What does the industry dictate? How is artificial intelligence playing a role in this? So they sort of turn a blind eye to this because they don't want that clarity. Because once they have the clarity, that means that action will have to take place. And so action is something else we will discuss a little bit later. So this is accountability without blaming. This is not about blaming, it's about responsibility. Strong leadership requires the courage to listen. And I talk a lot about listening and why it's so important. Now, today, I'm doing all the talking because I'm the only person here. So if I wasn't talking, you would just be seeing a screen with nothing but blackness and wondering why I'm here. But when you're a leader of an organization, you have to listen to your people. You have to listen to your team, to your community. You have to listen to your customers. And so listening is a skill that has to be focused on. Now, many people will think, well, we're listening all the time. No, we're hearing. That doesn't mean we're listening. They're two different things. So a successful leader will take the time to learn how to listen. Strong leadership also requires pausing. We have to pause and we have to reflect. As leaders, we don't always necessarily know what to do. So we can just stop. We can reflect. We can do some research. We can think. We can talk to our mentors. We can talk to our coaches, and then we can come up with a game plan. And then we can even run it by our team, our community, and see what people think. Now, some people as leaders in the leadership role, they don't want to get other people's opinions. They just want to make the decisions themselves. I've heard people say, well, I'm the leader. I'm the one who's getting paid to make the decisions. But making decisions in a vacuum, in a silo, in a void, is that the best thing to do? Because it's going to impact people. Why not hear from those people themselves? Why not conduct focus groups and see and listen to what people have to say? The most dangerous phrase in business is not, we failed. It's, this isn't the hill to die on. What does this mean? Sometimes we make commitments to doing certain things as leaders, and it's actually just not working out. So we can actually say, you know what, I did say we were going to go down this path, but upon further reflection and seeing some of the outcome from it, we're actually not going to go down this path. Instead of keeping it silent, and then all of a sudden the company fails because we didn't want to admit that we chose a path that wasn't the best one. So coming together as a community, as a team, as an organization, and discussing things is really what is most impactful, as opposed to just keeping things quiet and silent. And then the failure comes when the company implodes. So if you're leading a business or a team or an organization, I'd like you to ask yourself this: what conversation am I putting off? What is it I'm postponing? What behavior am I tolerating that I really don't want to? What truth do I already know, but I haven't named? Recently, I did a show about when we know the truth and we can't unsee it. So in your organization, are you seeing things that you can no longer unsee? And if so, what are you doing about it? Are you keeping it silent? Are you bringing it forth so that it can be discussed? Because without conversation, there can be no path forward. And I mentioned at the top of the hour when I started this show that it's the same principles that are true for a relationship. If you're in a relationship right now and it doesn't feel right, what are the conversations that you're not having? What is it that you're not sharing or discussing because you're afraid? You're afraid of the outcome. And coming from a position of fear is never a solid way forward. And it's the same thing in business. As a leader, you see something. And by the way, I think everyone in an organization is a leader because we all have certain skill sets that we can bring forth. So, congratulations to each and every one of you who are coming forward with observations or ideas and bringing them forth in a respectful way because you want to contribute to the success of the company. Smart businesses do not fail overnight. It's just like relationships. They don't fail overnight. Maybe you've met someone and it's not working out. That's not a long-term relationship. But if you've been in a relationship and it's not working out, you probably identified things along the way that didn't feel right. And you just chose to turn a blind eye. You didn't want to discuss it with the person because you didn't want to get into a conversation, or maybe you thought they would leave and you just decided to stay silent and you're unhappy. And the same thing happens in businesses. There are red flags along the way that things are not going right. And as leaders, we have to stand up and say, okay, I'm going to address this. And you come forward to your team and you say to your team, listen, I respect you. I appreciate you. I want to share with you what I'm seeing. It's the way we bring forth the information. If we do it in a respectful way, and we set boundaries and we allow the people we're speaking to also have boundaries, then that's where the listening and the communication can take place. And that's where we can share what we see. So when we come together as a team and as a community, we don't want to fail as an organization. We appreciate the key learnings that we get along the way. But if the business fails, then you're part of it and you're out of a job. If the business fails and you're a client or a customer, then you no longer can have access to that brand. So by sharing the feedback, I believe it's a win-win for everyone as long as it's done in a respectful way with boundaries. That is our program for today, which is why smart businesses fail, what no one wants to talk about. So I hope you found some nuggets of information that you can take forth with you. If you are interested in getting in touch with me, you can contact me through either of my websites, which I will share here. My website for drjacalyn.com is where I have my private advisory for leaders. This is also where I have my master classes, my workshops, and my books, and everything you need to know on elevated listening. And if you're interested in being a guest on our television network, you can go to usaglobaltv.com and you can book your session, which is right here, book your session. And we'd be happy to work with you and share your experience and your expertise. So thanks for being here today. I really do appreciate it. I'd love for you to subscribe to our channels, which I'll bring up the graphic for that now. We have 2 YouTube channels. They are USA Global TV and Radio, and also Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here today. I'll be back next week with my next Talking Heads episode. If you have something that you'd like me to speak on, you can certainly share that information as well when you use the Contact Us form on my websites. Thank you again. Let's take a look at some of our sponsorships, and we will be back with our next program. Thank you.
Is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? In a world quick to judge, one book dares to reveal the hidden cost of silence. Discover Holy but Harmful, The Silent Sin of Judgment, How Hidden Judgments Destroy Relationships and Damage Lives by Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. The Amazon #1 bestseller that's transforming the way we understand ourselves and the way we see others. Pick up the companion workbook to uncover your own hidden judgments and learn how to break free from them. Available now on Amazon and at fine bookstores worldwide.
USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents Tracy Cram Perkins, a dementia caregiving survivor teaching how to balance care with peace of mind. #1 resource for dementia caregivers. It's the book Dementia Home Care: How to Prepare Before, During, and After. Over 17,000 copies sold of this must-have guide. And now a testimonial from Tracy Smith.
If I was to describe this book to someone who is going through a similar situation, I would underscore how important it is to have some sort of a tool or a guidebook to help you through certain stages. And there's so many, it's such an unknown topic to the average person. And to have this as a reference is essential. It's going to help you get through it personally, as well as help your loved one manage.
To learn more, go to tracycramperkins.com. Tracy Cram Perkins is an award-winning author. She's also the host of Dementia Home Care television show. Watch it here on USA Global TV and Radio.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA-Global-TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting. We're building bridges and changing lives, one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dies. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.